Hello again, and the hits keep on coming. Just the way the cookie crumbles, that things seem to be turning up at quite a speed at the moment. So you've seen the title below, there's no point in playing silly buggers. This is about Mulholland Drive, David Lynch's 2001 film. I'm a bit of a Lynch head. When it comes to David Lynch, I've got multiple versions of a lot of his films, including Mulholland Drive, usually for silly reasons. I mean, here's the 4K, for example, of The Elephant Man, and it opens up to be a little pop-up of the hospital that John Merrick in the film, Joseph Merrick in real life made. And it comes with a movie as well, apparently. Or Twin Peaks, the original Blu-ray edition, not the re-release that's just a side open, but the original, where everything opens out like that, and then if you go right to the bottom, get to the bottom of the mystery, which is quite awkward to do. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. You get ground, see? Plain ground, except it's not so plain, because that ground, if I can find it, opens up even further to reveal what they find in the ground, the Laura Palmer note for Walk With Me. So again, I've kept Twin Peaks purely for a replica of a dead girl's note, despite the fact that on top of that I've got the complete Twin Peaks, which has got all of that in it, so there's absolutely no need for me to keep that. And when one day this is superseded, I'll still keep this, because it's got a little diorama of the Red Room itself. So your discs are all back here, but then it's got an actual diorama of the Red Room with a little metal, these are like metal coupe and Laura Palmer. Lovely. So yes, a bit of a saddle when it comes to David Lynch. In fact, when Arrow last summer, or this summer, announced they were doing Dune, there was much rejoicing, because they were going to include a feature-length documentary about the making of, and then the producers of said documentary said, we need a bit more time, can we have it? And Arrow said, nope, we've got a deadline to meet, we're putting it out without your documentary. A feature-length documentary about the making of one of the most infamous productions in Hollywood film history, and they said no. Arrow, not who they were since they've been taken over by the Hut Group. So in lieu of that, I went to Germany and bought the German edition in a nice media book with the awful German media rating sticker, but comes off and you get a nice. So again in 4K. So we're living in a world where David Lynch and 4K are becoming quite synonymous. Many of his films are making the jump now. And this is today's feature presentation, Mulholland Drive. Now, about 2 years ago, Mulholland Drive, maybe 3 years ago, was restored from Studio Canal with a 4K restoration. So this could feasibly have just come out then, but it didn't. So I also have a surplus Mulholland Drive in there, which I think's got 4 art cards or something, so I'll need to hold on to that. However, as if I could turn this down, look at that art, that is absolutely gorgeous. Big fat old box with let's crack this open. I literally don't know what's in this. It's that long ago that I ordered it that I don't know. I'm assuming the movie's in there. Plastic. It'll get recycled. Is there anything under the hype sticker? Nothing. Just to see if it's worth my while taking it off just now because it's taped down. Nope. Oh, I'm going to have to take it off anyway because it's holding the box together. And this is quite thin paper, it's not a thick card, so I need to be very careful opening this. Alright. The tension's killing me. I hope it lasts. And when you've got one off, the other one usually just ta-da. There we go. So the art. Let's open it carefully just in case anything falls. Okay. Mulholland falls. That was a different movie, wasn't it? That was a gangster movie with Michael Madsen and Chris Penn. So I remember that. 1996-ish. Okay, well, more art cards. So I can put them with my 4 art cards from the last set. But it starts with a booklet. Studio Canal, renowned for always including a nice booklet with these things. So many people come here to make their dreams come true. So this of course started as a pilot for a TV show which was not picked up, and David Lynch went back and filmed some wraparound things to turn it into a feature, quite similar to what would have happened to Twin Peaks if that wasn't picked up as a show. They had the pilot of that ready to just be turned into a feature film, which is included on the Blu-ray sets. So yeah, quite an extensive kind of essay with plenty of quotes from Lynch. There's what's his name, Justin Theroux, who is actually Louis Theroux's cousin. I had no idea, I just thought they had the same name. He's Louis Theroux's cousin. And you can kind of see it there. If Louis Theroux and Jeff Goldblum had a baby, it'd be Justin Theroux. Maybe it's just the glasses. The 10 Clues of David Lynch. Now, I remember these. It was published, yes, taken from The Observer. I was going to say The Guardian, so I'm not too far off. The 10 Clues to Decrypt Mulholland Drive. Now, being David Lynch, you ain't going to find too many answers here. You might find the answers to some of these, but it's not going to suddenly reveal much. So, for example, notice the appearances of the red lampshade, or who gives the key and why? What is felt, realised and gathered at the Club Silencio? Where is Aunt Ruth? So it's almost like the log lady introductions from the repeats of Twin Peaks, which again are included in the Blu-ray sets, where it's not going to say, here's what it's about, but it's going to throw a little bit of context and maybe make you come at things from just a slightly different point of view. But as with all David Lynch work, your own interpretation is as valid as anybody's. Not as valid as mine, of course. Mine is the correct one. An essay on gender identity, which is very important in this film. It was quite ahead of the curve. I mean, identity itself is a major theme in David Lynch's work. Characters literally becoming other people. Thinking of Lost Highway with Bill Pullman and Balthazar Getty. And it happens in this as well. I don't want to say how or when, but it happens in this as well. Notes on the restoration. I always like to read these kind of things because it's fascinating from a cinephile point of view. David Lynch supported the restoration right through, and it was, although I said done 2 years ago with a 4K restoration, it was redone this year, literally this year, not last year, this year, when it was shown once more at the Cannes Film Festival. So it looks even better than it would have done had it been put out a couple of years ago. And there's David Lynch's filmography, which I like that they've included that. And these are all on Blu-ray now, aren't they? Let's have a look. Razorhead, yep. Criterion. Elephant Man, I just showed you. Dune, just showed you. Blue Velvet, of course. Wild at Heart, yep. Twin Peaks, yep. Fire Walk with Me is on the box set. Lost Highway, yep. Straight Story. I've got 2 copies of that. One from Italy on Blu-ray, and then Imprint from Australia. I've just released a really good stacked version of that, so get on that. Mulholland Drive, well. Inland Empire, which I believe there's rumours that Criterion are going to be releasing that, but there is a UK version of that at the moment. And then Twin Peaks: The Missing Pieces and The Return are both included in that, in both of those Twin Peaks box sets. And then there's your cast list for Mulholland Drive. Robert Foster, he's listed reasonably high up here, but Robert Foster was going to play a much bigger part if it was actually a show. So though he, it's like, why is Robert Foster in this for one scene? He was going to be a major player, and luckily did become a major player when Twin Peaks: The Return allowed him to join as the new Sheriff Truman. So let's have a look at these cards. See if they're better than the cards I had the last time. Oh, these are quite flimsy. Flimsiness factor, 2 points off. Right, so we've seen that. That's obviously the cover of the set. It is gorgeous, though. I really do like that. It's very, I don't know, the colours are almost Toulouse-Lautrec. I don't know. Lay through back of the action. That's a great shot, isn't it? This was, God, it looks like something from Scream, doesn't it? But this was the film that really was Naomi Watts' big break. And then for years, I just thought, she's never done anything even remotely good again. She was in the King Kong remake where she was fine. But she was in like that Princess Diana and Dodi Al-Fayed movie, and it just looked like it was done for Naomi Watts. And then all of a sudden, Twin Peaks season 3, she plays Jenna E, and wow. So she's almost like Laura Dern or Kim McLaughlin. If she works with David Lynch, you get the best Naomi Watts. So it looks like we're getting a couple of posters. This is good. I'm noticing this more and more where we're getting, instead of double-sided posters where you can't put anything up because you're missing the other side, you get double-sided, 2 posters, so you can. So again, the same image. So that's the newly commissioned artwork. So I'm guessing the other must be the original. Yes, I can tell already that is the original poster that I remember seeing in 2001. Or yeah, was it 2001? I think it was, wasn't it? Lovely jubbly. Fantastic. And then, yeah, this tray is a lot bigger than it needs to be honest, because here's the disc holder. And it ain't that big. It's just about the regular Blu-ray size. And when you open that, it's, again, the artwork from the front with the side table, which was one of the clues, wasn't it, we just read. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of box for you know, there's a lot of, you know, really that and some posters. Doesn't need to be that size. Although the I like nice things part of me is happy that it is. So we'll stick some of this stuff back in. Go over a couple of special features. I'll sing Roy Orbison's Crying in Spanish, and then we can all go home. That's a reference to the movie. If anyone's not seen the movie, they'll be very confused at what I just said. Most people are very confused at what I say anyway. So yeah, this is very flimsy. Special features. Back to Mulholland Drive, on the road to Mulholland Drive, interview with Laura Harding, interview with Mary Sweeney, interview with Angela Badalamenti, introduction by Thierry Jose, and In the Blue Box. I like the interviews with Angelo Badalamenti. Whenever he does one, he always takes you right back to how he comes up with the themes for Lynch movies, and I get quite emotional whenever I hear Laura Palmer's theme, but the way he describes how he came up with it and how Lynch directed him while he was composing, it's a very collaborative process throughout with David Lynch. It's never just you go and do your thing. He really stays on top of it, but it's never a dictatorship. It always seems to be, I've got my ideas, you've got your ideas, let's bring them together and we'll have an idea. So this 20th anniversary collector's edition includes 4K restoration approved by David Lynch on UHD, that's 4K to you and I, and Blu-ray in inner digipack, 2 posters, set of 5 art cards. They're bits of paper, I'm not letting you call them art cards, they're art paper, and booklet including essays from Anna Smith and David Jenkins. So look at that. The greatest film of the 21st century, BBC Culture Poll. I don't know, that's very subjective. The greatest film of the 21st century. I mean, my goodness, that's a claim, isn't it? I need to think about that. What would I put ahead of it? I mean, Zack Snyder's just done so many films that you could just, you know. Part 1, she found herself inside the perfect mystery. Part 2, a sad illusion. Part 3, love. LA, City of Angels. Amnesiac and wounded, a mysterious femme fatale wanders on the sinuous road of Mulholland Drive. She finds shelter at Betty's house, Naomi Watts, an aspiring actress just arrived from a hometown and in search of stardom in Hollywood. Initially intrigued by the stranger who calls herself Rita, Laura Elena Harding, Betty discovers that her handbag is full of dollar bundles. The two women get to know each other better and decide to investigate in order to discover Rita's true identity. This slick, sinister, psychosexual thriller comes from the darkest recesses of Hollywood, an LA of strange dreams, unrequited love, and a jealous, burning rage. That last paragraph there, I don't know, that's a bit PR-y to me. That makes it sound more like, you know, one of those post Basic Instinct sexual thrillers, you know, like, what's the one where Demi Moore and Woody Harrelson are going to get blackmailed if she sleeps with Robert Redford. You know, Fatal Attraction, and Indecent Proposal, Jade, all those kind of movies that came out. And it isn't that kind of movie at all. It is another very David Lynch-like film. Strange things happen, which are very much left open to your interpretation. It's like I say about most David Lynch films. It's not what happens, it's how you feel about it happening. From I referenced the moment where Rebecca Del Rio sings Roy Orbison's Crying in Spanish, which is one of those beautiful performances you'll ever hear. and you will cry watching it. From that moment on, the film takes a very big twist, and it's a twist that, if you've seen Lost Highway, won't be 100% lost on you. And certainly it's a twist that he revisits in Twin Peaks: The Return, so it's something that means a lot to David Lynch, which is never explained in any of them. But again, it's not about the explanation, it's how you feel and what it does to you. It's how the film changes you. It's not the kind of film that you should expect answers from. You know, he done it, she done it. You know, he's never going to do the Poirot. You know, he's never going to give you that kind of resolution. He will leave you with a sense of wonder, mystery, awe. And if the film hits you, and not everyone likes David Lynch, I would recognise that, and he isn't for everyone, but if his films hit you in the right way, then they will never leave you. I still sometimes just think about the endings of some of those films and some of the goings on, and even in his Dune, which has now obviously been reappraised in the light of Denis Villeneuve's remake, or a new version of the book, I should say, rather than remake. There are things in that which, even though he's taken Frank Herbert's text, are very Lynchian. There certainly are starting from Eraserhead onwards, themes that he would constantly revisit. From Blue Velvet onwards, there are character types that we'd see revisited again and again. The innocent savant, the incredibly cruel protagonist with no redeeming features whatsoever. Evil as an entity, you know, like Frank Bith, like Willem Dafoe in was it Wild at Heart? Was that? Yeah, Wild at Heart. And indeed Bob in Twin Peaks. So he, more like an author or a painter than a filmmaker, really. He revisits themes and approaches them from different angles. And he's not done enough to ever make it derivative. And often he's quite underrated for his comedy. There isn't too much comedy in this, but there is a bit of farce. And there's quite a bit of levity, which would only become apparent on rewatch, and might make you feel a bit guilty if you have laughed at it the first time, when you rewatch it the second, after you realise what potentially has happened. So again, it's very hard to even talk about this film, because first of all, you need to share an interpretation, and you need to spoil the film for someone. So it's quite difficult. There's a reason why there are whole podcasts and YouTube channels and whatnot dedicated just to the evaluation of David Lynch's work. And it deeply deserves it. He's a wonderful, wonderful person. Mel Brooks described him as Jimmy Stewart from Mars, which is just perfect. Mel Brooks, of course, produced The Elephant Man, and I can't remember if he did take his name off or he wanted to, but he didn't want Mel Brooks's name. He didn't want his own name to appear on the poster, in case anyone goes in thinking it's a comedy. And he was so impressed by Eraserhead that he backed David Lynch to the Elephant Man, which led to Dino De Laurentiis giving him Dune, which the flop of which gave David Lynch the freedom to work with incredibly low budgets and make Blue Velvet, and gives the David Lynch that we've had pretty much ever since, because he never went back to the bigger budget. So in an alternate world, if Dune was a hit, we could have lost David Lynch to the Hollywood system, which would have been just a tragedy. Think of all the visionary filmmakers who were operating in the 70s and 80s and just took the money and ran. I don't think David Lynch could have. He's too creative. I don't think he ever actually could have done that. But he did take the meeting to direct Return of the Jedi. George Lucas offered him the chance to do that. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine Return of the Jedi directed by David Lynch? Can you imagine what Jabba's palace would be like if David Lynch directed it? Wow. He tells a great story about it. It's on YouTube. George takes him to a restaurant. He's quite surprised because they only have salads. And he starts showing me these drawings of something called a Wookiee. But yeah, he's a wonderful person. I'm glad that he made that short last year for Netflix. The what was it called? The house that Jack built? No, that was Lars von Trier. Something that Jack did, where it's him interrogating a monkey. But again, it's strangely poignant. He has apparently got a secret project with Netflix that's in development, and Ken McLaughlin has given some clues on Instagram that he may well be involved. If so, take my money. I will subscribe on all my devices to get a new David Lynch TV show. We'll never see Twin Peaks again, but there's too many greats have left us since that show ended. I did count them one day, and it was like 12 actors have passed away since then. So anyway, that was a look at Mulholland Drive. Hope you enjoyed watching it, and why don't you pop a comment in and tell me your favourite David Lynch movie, and if you don't like David Lynch, tell me why. And also tell me why you'd watch this video if you don't like David Lynch. We'll speak soon. Good night.